and they call themselves, they'll use the hashtag Utah Illuminati. Their own logo is an Illuminati all-seeing eye triangle.
Oh, Zion, dear Zion, home of the free.
This Defending Utah presentation brought to you by our generous sponsors, Trust Plumbing, Higher Calling Firearms, Mini Zoo comes to you, American Appliance, Anderson Accounting, and The Editor Lady.
Defending Utah Radio, a true grassroots group for liberty. We don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. To find out how you can become a member, visit defendingutah.org.
Welcome back to Defending Utah Radio. This is Ben McClintock and Enoch Moore. And if you missed if you were listening to our first segment about the right to a jury trial being taken away, one thing we want to let you know about, of course, to contact us if you want to be a part of this and more information at info@defendingutah.org. But on October 11th at 2:30 p.m. at the American Fork Courthouse on the 3rd floor, there's going to be the bench trial. And so this is where a lot of stuff's going to be going down, where he's going to be demanding to have his jury trial. So if you want to be a part of that, that's October 11th at 2:30 at the American Fork Courthouse. Again, more information, contact us at defendingutah.org. If you want to get involved in also in some protest at and let us know, and just at info@defendingutah.org. So this segment, we wanted to talk to you about some things that we've talked about before. There was interesting back just a few months ago. There was a takeover, basically, of the Utah Republican Party by a group that calls themselves the Buckshot Caucus. So we're going to play a clip of an interview that we did a while back about this to kind of get you updated on what's going on. Or call them at 801-254-2566. We want to give some background before we have our guest on. The Buckshot Caucus was founded just a few years ago by a man by two people, Carl Downing and Jeremy Roberts. And they call themselves, they'll use the hashtag Utah Illuminati. Their own logo is an Illuminati all-seeing eye triangle. And Carl Downing, he's worked for the governor, and he's a bureaucrat in the Workforce Services Department now. But he pretends to be a Republican, but goes around on social networking saying that, isn't it great that Utah is less Mormon and more gay and more Democrat? And so this guy is supposed to be a Republican supporting Republican values, but his organization is actually involved in those things. And if you go check out the Defending Utah YouTube channel and check out Utah's Secret History, that's our video there, you'll learn a lot more of that background. But we want to get right to our guest, Laura Sanchez, who has some really deep information about the Buckshot co-founder, Jeremy Roberts. So we've got, again, Laura, thanks for joining us here on K-Talk.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So let's give us the rundown.
Well, it's funny because I had really only known a little bit about the Buckshot Caucus, but more about Jeremy Roberts.
Right.
I first heard about the Buckshot when I was at the state nominating convention in April of 2016. I'm a state delegate, and I was there, and I was handed one of those flyers with a list of endorsements from, all across the spectrum of people that they were endorsing. And I had never seen anything from them before, and the candidates on the list were very eclectic. I couldn't really see any rhyme or reason to it other than that they were all claiming to be pro-gun. And so I did some digging, and I learned that one of the founders was none other than my old friend, Jeremy Roberts. And that told me more than anything else I needed to know about this group. So, yeah, it's been an interesting year. I'd heard of and interacted with Jeremy Roberts for years before that on a neighborhood Facebook page, and I didn't know anything much about him other than the fact that he had a really weird sense of humor. One that struck me early on is almost rehearsed, and it seemed like a way to deflect and detract, redirect conversations, take attention off the subject and put it back on himself, that kind of thing.
It's like something that they do very often to make it so they act like it's a big joke, that they're not really about doing the things that they claim that they're doing. They just act like it's a joke, and then they go and do it.
Yes, it's a very effective strategy, and as you were saying about Carl Downing, it's a very leftist type of strategy.
Right.
It's very surprising to see. But, I met him for the first time at our caucus night in 2016, and I was surprised because amongst the joking and the humor, he could speak somewhat intelligently about certain subjects, and even with a sense of authority on some others. He mentioned the fight over the future of the caucus and acted like he was sorry about it, that specifically mentioning that he hoped this wouldn't be our last caucus and that we'd be lucky to have it in 2018 if we didn't act and do something quickly. And
well, that's what they pretended that SB 54 was the way to save the caucus, which was a complete and total lie.
Yes, and he didn't mention then that he was the one behind it. But after some digging even further, I found that he was actually the author of SB 54, and that his claims are that he did this to save the caucus. That the
so we've got to destroy capitalism to save capitalism, right?
Yes, we have to destroy America to save America. Right. It was just so blatant to me that here I am one night hearing him telling his neighbors that he's pro-caucus, and then finding out a few days later that he wrote SB 54, and he saved the caucus. And I finally asked him, who did you save the caucus from? Yourself? Because who was behind Count My Vote? You are.
Right.
And so that was really just kind of a surreal few days. And in talking with him, he told me to Google him. I think he thought that would intimidate, but he just said, I know what I'm talking about. I'm behind a lot of this. Why don't you Google me? And I did. And
worst mistake he could have done.
I don't know why. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. It was terrible. I did more digging than I think he probably expected me to do. It was evident immediately that he was not just perjuring himself to the constituents. I mean, he's done it time and time again. Going back all the way to 2011, I found a recording of him on with Rod Arquette claiming outright that he was behind the Count My Vote petition drive. And so this isn't just SB 54 trying to save it. This is all the way back to the beginning.
So it proves the deception. So right there, this is something that what they do, so what these people do, whether you call them conspirators, whether you call them serial combinations, whatever, or just people that are being deceptive to get their agenda through, they say one thing and then they do another. There's a lot of people out there pretending to be in favor of protecting the neighborhood caucus system when they're actually fighting to take it away. So this
whole battle is one of the clearest evidences in Utah that there are secret combinations in politics.
Right.
This whole drama that has played out and that continues to play out.
Exactly. There was a leaked email about the formation of Count My Vote that we've talked about and written about. That at the very meeting that they were at, where they had these people, where their design was to make us more like California.
They had a guest speaker come from California and said, "Here's how we turned California 40 years ago."
And so when they formed Count My Vote, they also formed an anti-Count My Vote organization. Now, if you're pro something, why would you start an organization that's against what you're doing?
That's against what you're for, right?
That's
that
why would
does
you do
not
that?
make sense in
on
normal
its face.
On its face. So that means there's something else going on.
It's this idea of false opposition. That way, because people are against what you're doing, and so you set up an organization where all of these people are driven to your organization, fighting what you're doing. They think, but then they're just spinning their wheels. And so they control the opposition. They make sure that all of their opposition is completely neutralized. And so they started the anti-Count My Vote organizations to make sure that, so if you were a part of those, I'm sorry, but you were played, because that was run by the same people that started the Count My Vote initiative. And so you have a lot of people in there that are saying one thing and doing another. They're pretending to be a part of your side And so they tell you, they're like, oh, we should be doing this. This is going to make you be more effective, when they know it's actually going to make you less effective. And so because we don't understand who the enemy is, we fall for all of these false patriots with false solutions that take us off the path. And what was interesting was a lot of people that were on the Republican State Central Committee that are legitimately in favor of the neighborhood caucus wrote a letter to the chairman of the Republican Party and talked about, what their efforts in continuing the lawsuit to make sure that the party still has a say in how its candidates are chosen. What was interesting, though, is these people that are in favor of getting rid of making us like California and getting rid of the neighborhood caucus, they sent out a letter to all of the delegates in Utah County saying, it says, the Republican Party, the Utah Republican Party is under attack. We are the Central Committee in the most Republican county in Utah. We need to preserve the will of the delegates. Recently, some of our party have thought they know better than the delegates. And so it says 53 rogue members of the State Central Committee want to oust the duly elected Republican Party chair for wanting to preserve the caucus convention system. Now, that's a complete lie, because the current party chair was elected by deception, because he was the pro count my vote candidate. All of the pro count my vote people wanted Rob Anderson there. And so this letter was sent out to fool the more ignorant the people that don't really know the ins and outs. Because, when not all the delegates are just, political junkies knowing what's going on. And so they're like, oh, my goodness, these 53 people that are actually in favor of the caucus are now being led to believe that these 53 are actually against the caucus and that the party chair is in favor of the caucus when he's actually against the caucus. And so the party members were played from beginning to end. When the party hired a pro count my vote lawyer to fight count my vote, I mean, just every step of the way. And then it was just ridiculousness. It was defending Utah, getting this information to the Constitution Party that led to the only victory that occurred in this count my vote battle, because we understand who the enemy is and we know what to do about it.
That whole drama you just narrated for us there, like in high school, that would just be drama, right? in real life, with adults who have power and are playing with our liberties, it's called conspiracy.
Right. And because it has a real life effect in everybody's life, because we have these people that are trying to make Utah destroy our roots of liberty and make us like basically the communist fascist state of California.
A prophet of God that I believe is a prophet of God, Ezra Taft Benson, said there is no conspiracy theory in the Book of Mormon, only conspiracy fact, and that book was meant for our day.
Exactly.
And there it's playing out right in front of our eyes.
And so if you want to understand more about these secret combinations in Utah and what you can do about it, go to defendingutah.org. This Defending Utah presentation was brought to you by our generous sponsors, Truss Plumbing, 801-808-5470. Higher Calling Firearms, highercallingfirearms.com. Minizoo comes to you. Call them at 801-414-5279. An American Appliance. Reach them at 801-254-2566. Anderson Accounting, when you care enough to pay the very least, at andersonaccounting.com, as well as the editor lady. Reach her at 801-948-3667. Make sure and subscribe to Defending Utah Radio on iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.